The moment we've all been waiting for, the brand new 2026 Mathews is here. Let's jump into it and check this thing out right now. This is gonna be a full bow build video on my setup for this fall and beyond. So I'm excited to get this thing set up and dialed in, but let's check it out first. Got the Mathews hat with that like usual. And here we go, you guys. There it is. Oh man, this is always so exciting. First look right there. You'll notice right out of the box something a little bit different that they did this year that I'm absolutely fired up about. This is a brand new color. It's called Kodiak Brown and it is awesome. My favorite bow color of all time, a bow I had for 7 years and shot a lot of animals with, was a very similar color to this, dark brown, and I just love that color. And I was thinking about it earlier this year, and I think I told Josh, there's two things that I was hoping Mathews would do this year. It's one, make a dark brown bow, and two, make an angled stabilizer, and they did both. I'll talk about the stabilizer later on in this video when I get that thing put on, but right now we'll check out this awesome Kodiak Brown, and man, it is already, like, I'm sure it's gonna be my favorite bow color of all time. This thing's sweet. I went with the tan serving on this and white strings. So I wanted a serving that can match the riser color, and this tan is extremely close to that. So let's talk a little bit about the specs of this thing. This is the 30-inch model. There's a 30 and a 34-inch in the brand new Mathews Arc. The 30-inch is gonna come in at 3.99 pounds mass weight. It's got a 6-inch brace height up to 348 feet per second IBO speed. You've got options for draw weights from 55 up to 80 pounds and options for draw lengths from 25 to 30 and a half. And again, that's on the 30-inch Arc model, and they also make one in a 34-inch, which has longer draw options. A couple of the new features for 2026, they have the second generation of the switch weight cam. This thing is even faster than the previous one. And along with that, they have a new mod option, the SWX-Z mod, which offers a little bit of a smoother draw at a little bit of a compromised speed, but much smoother draw for those guys that don't care as much about the speed and just want something super smooth. There's options for both. A really smooth draw with respectable speeds, and then something that is a little bit faster with the normal draw mod. And I'm gonna keep this normal one on here. I want as much speed out of this bow as possible, so that's what I'm gonna be running. But they did also redesign this whole riser quite a bit different than last year on the Lift X. You can see the bottom here is quite a bit more stabilized, and also up at the top here, top and bottom, you'll notice they actually put the Silent Connect system right here integrated into the riser, so you no longer have to bolt anything onto that limb cup area like you did before. It's just right there. Super easy for either the sling or when you're pulling your bow up to the stand, just loop it right through the middle of the limbs there, and then hook it on that Silent Connect system. Pull your bow up and it's balanced and it's not wobbling all over the place when you're pulling it up, hitting branches and stuff. So that's kind of nice. They also have a reinforced limb assembly for this year to just make these limbs even tougher and more durable. And then the last two things are the angled stabilizer, the 7-degree down angle, show you that in a bit, and also the new integrated V-bar mount for a back bar, which I'll also show you once I get that on. So a lot of new features this year. I mean, their engineer team just did a lot of awesome work redesigning the entire bow essentially. And I just cannot wait to get this thing set up in shooting and ready for hunting. So let's get it set up. First thing I'm gonna do is actually put on a white Engage grip. I like the brown one that matches that brown color, but I'm going with a little bit of a white and brown theme on this bow with the serving strings and then the grip. I think it's gonna match the limbs a little bit. It's gonna match my scope ring a little bit and just kind of a clean look. So get that done and then we'll go into the next step, which is gonna be tying in nock sets. So for this, I'm gonna use, again, white. Always use white, mainly just because it's easier to see if I'm nocking my arrow and it's low light or something like that. So it'll look good on there too, which is always a positive. Got the bow in a press. I don't need a press for this necessarily. I just need to hold it in a straight line so bow vise would work. I just don't have one here, so I'm gonna use the press and put on my nock set and my D-loop. Get this thing ready to draw back for the very first time. I've never shot it, obviously, and I'm pretty excited. I'm not sure what to expect. I'm expecting it's gonna be a little fast. I'm expecting it's gonna shoot great like my Lift X did, but you just never know exactly how it's gonna feel and exactly how fast it might be until you do it for the first time. So pretty fired up. So one thing that I have to keep in mind, I'm shooting lighted nocks out of this bow quite a bit, pretty much every time I'm hunting, especially this fall. And these lighted nocks, the nock is actually a little bit wider than my Easton X nocks that I use in these Axis arrows. So I need to make my nock sets and my D-loop just a hair wider than normal so I don't have extra nock pinch. If I don't do that, I'm gonna get a lot of high shots because that's gonna be pinched at full draw, and when the arrow releases, it's gonna be maybe lift just a micro scotch, if that's a word, off the rest and end up shooting high at longer distances. So I actually have a lighted nock on here first, and I'm gonna set my nocking sets and D-loop with the lighted nock width, and even when I have it a little bit wider and I go back to shooting the regular nocks, which I have weighted that are exact same weight as my lighted nocks. I made a video on that a couple years ago to make sure I can shoot the exact same weight of nocks year round and not have to adjust anything for a heavier lighted nock. But when I go back to those, it'll still shoot just as good because I'm not gonna have too much of a gap that it's gonna cause any issues. So it's a little dark down here, but we'll get this thing dialed in, just lining it up with the burger button hole, and that'll be, wow, that looks perfect actually. That'll be a extremely good starting place. Usually the last bow I set up doing this method, it was absolutely dead on. I didn't have to adjust anything up or down. But let's get this thing tied in. This is BCY 3D material, and another thing that Josh taught me recently is when I'm tying these nock sets in, I want to make sure that I'm not getting all jumbled up when I'm pulling them down. I know it's really hard to tell from that camera angle, but I want to make sure it's super clean all the way down and not like twisting and raveling together, because it's just not going to be a clean knot when it's laying on that serving that way. So just go nice and slow, and then right as it's touching the serving there, then it'll cinch up nice and tight. So that's 3. Nice and clean till the very end there. That's 4. Get them super tight. Now the reason I like doing a nock sets on either side and not just tying a D-loop in there, it's a couple of reasons, but probably the main reason is D-loops wear out. I mean, even the best materials, you're gonna shoot a lot, they're gonna wear out, you're gonna have to replace it at one point or another. And when you do go to replace it, you don't have to guess and retune and move your rest or anything like that. You can just put it on either side of the nock set, and your nock set's not moved. So the arrow hasn't moved. The arrow positioning has stayed the same, so you don't have to worry about all that. You can just cut your D-loop off, tie a new D-loop on, double check everything's sighted in, and you're off to the races. You're good to go. You don't have to mess with it. So that's probably the primary reason that I like doing it anyway. Well, shoot. Of course I have a dull knife and not my super sharp knife, but you know what I do have? Got a couple Rage broadheads that are used, but they're still probably sharper than my other knife. All right, this is real time, you guys. Using a broadhead to tie my nock sets. Unbelievable. Okay. Works pretty good though. Fire goes up, always have it above your strings so you're not having to buy brand new strings after buying brand new strings. Let's go for the bottom one now. Nifty broadhead knife. Excellent. Make sure they're ultra tight. Broadhead did the trick. And nock sets are in. Time for the D-loop. Gonna use BCY 24, and it looks like this is the last one that I've got, which is fine. Ball up one end. All right, D-loop is tied. Try to make it about 3/4 of an inch. Okay, good and tight. All right, we've got nock sets, D-loop are in. Let's move on to the next step. All right, let's put this in the drawboard and sync the cams. Make sure they're where they should be. This is a drawboard I made from some parts from Lowe's. Trailer winch right here. I think it's maybe like a boat winch or something like that. And I have a base here and then a steel pipe here that are wrapped in some felt and paracord to protect the bow. Paracord right here with, I can't remember what this is called, one of these thingies. And I think this is a 2x6 piece of wood, and then I made a ruler for the draw length and made sure it was where it needs to be. Ooh. So it's kind of nice because if you're by yourself, you can see what the draw length is exactly of your bow, not just based off the mod that you have, but the actual draw length. Whether you have a little bit of string stretch or whatever the case may be, it's usually not exactly what the mod is on the bow. Usually, pretty much, I think every single bow I've shot of various brands have all been an actual longer draw than the mod shows. So if you want to know like your actual perfect detailed draw length of the bow you have, doing it on a drawboard is by far the best way, because you can kind of figure it out otherwise. You can kind of have someone try to measure it at full draw, but it's a little dangerous, and this is just better. So we're going to do that, and we're also going to make sure the cams are synced. I made this pretty detailed so I can just make micro adjustments and see where everything's at. Okay, so my bottom is definitely hitting before my top. So I'm gonna make a quick adjustment to that. You know what I'm actually gonna do is, I know I have that bow press sitting right over there, but I wanna show that you can set up a bow without even using a bow press. So I'm gonna do it with the Mathews Stay Afield system and make a couple adjustments to this and put it right back in the drawboard. Like, this thing is honestly like one of my favorite features. Just so sweet, because like, you break something in the field, you have to replace a string, a cable in the field. You don't want to buy an expensive bow press to set up your own bows. Well, you don't really need to, because with this and with the limb shift on these bows, You can paper tune, you can sync your cams, you can replace strings, you can do everything you need to do on a bow without the bow press. And I know I just used it for putting in my D loop, but that was just not necessary at all if you have a 90-degree scale that you can put on your string, a ruler, and I just don't have one here with me today, so I use that method instead. But that was just to hold it at a perfectly 90-degree angle. So the first thing we need to do though when we're doing the using the stay afield system is I need to back these limb bolts out 4 turns, top and bottom, from flush. So first I'm going to make sure they're flush, which I'm sure they probably are since it's brand new. Yeah. So, oh jeepers. 1, 2. I'm not going to do all 4 at one time. Make sure this one's good. If it's tight. Oh man. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then top again. 3, 4. Okay. 4 turns off of both. I'm gonna set it down like this, face up, quiver side down. All right, so my bottom was hitting first. There's pegs on the cams you can just put these loops into. Pop this right over there by myself. No one else is here. No one else is helping me, which is nice, and I can safely work on this bow without even needing a bow press, which is, I mean, I said it before, but it's just awesome. So I'm gonna add 1 twist to this cable right here. See if that gets us anywhere. I'll do the opposite. Pull this string, make sure everything's in there appropriately. Nothing else fell out. And pop this off, slowly bring it back. Okay, and before I put it in the drawboard, I want to double check, make sure everything's in, strings in, cables in, cables in, cables in, cables in, and the string is in. All right, yeah, that's better. Let's back it off just a hair. It's almost just a hair bit the other direction, but I mean, it's so close, it's gonna be good for right now. Once get some shots into it, the strings and cables kind of settle in, I might have to make another adjustment, but for right now, it's like essentially perfect or very, very close to that. And that was all done with a quick adjustment with the stay afield system. Took a few minutes and this drawboard, and now we're ready to head on to the next step, and that's putting this rest on. This is the QAD Ultra Rest Integrate MX2, a rest that I've used for quite a few years. You know, honestly, like, archery's come so far in the last, I feel like even in the last like couple years, like 3-4 years, but to be able to basically just like grab your accessories. This thing has a line on it where I can line it up, and you can pretty much put on everything on this bow with very minimal tuning and be shooting extremely accurate. Just do a little bit of fine tuning to certain things, and like it doesn't take very long to get dialed in with, you know, this Integrate Rest being just like literally made for the bow, and later on this sight I'll put on made for the bow to be able to just dial it in super fast and easy and not take weeks to make sure your bow's tuned. So I love it personally. I like getting my bow set up quickly and not having to take a whole bunch of time to do it. It's hunting season right now. Wanting to get back out there as quickly as possible. So speaking of that, every time I was thinking about this QAD rest. They kept saying QAD Exodus, which is the broadhead they make, because I actually shot a doe with a QAD Exodus last night with my Lift X. First year of the year for me. But this is not the Exodus. QAD Integrate Rest, not the same. Once again, using Stay Field system because I need to put this cord in my downward cable. So I'm gonna do basically, I'm gonna do basically the exact same thing that I just did to make that adjustment for the sync. Pull this cable in and pop it in there. Now I can separate the strands on this and put my rest cord in. Try to get it as centered as possible. All right, in the downward cable, slowly let it back down. And again, double check. String and cables are all where they should be. Nothing's gonna roll out of there. Perfect. Tied in just below the serving on the downward cable. I just made a knot right here. And I'm gonna loosen up this up here on the rest, pull that through, draw back, and then that'll have it set. Then I just have to tighten that bolt. We'll be ready to rock for the rest. Again, like, it's so easy. Setting the rest height and making sure it came back at appropriate time with some of the other rests I used to use, it was a whole ordeal. I put chapstick on the vanes to make sure it was not contacting anything, and it seemed to just take forever, like back when I started shooting a bow 15 years ago, I think. Yeah, 15 years ago. And now it's like, they make it just so simple and so user-friendly. I just love it. All right, got that set. Tighten this bolt down. We'll be on to the next step. Okay, next up is the sight. Running the UV Mathews bridge lock. 5-pin horizontal. Let's get this thing put on. Okay. You know, honestly, probably my favorite thing, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely one of my favorite things about this sight is right here. Slide it in, boom. Because when I went to New Zealand and I flew halfway across the world, I didn't have to worry about keeping the sight on and getting it bumped around. And I was going from plane to plane, and they're throwing luggage in and out of planes and stuff in my bow case, and I didn't have to worry about it. So what I actually did is just popped it off, and I put the housing and everything in a small, super protected box. I wrapped it in actually like a face mask, like a snowboarding face mask, because that's all I had, and just wrapped it up really good, put it in a box, and then I put that box in the bow case. So I didn't have to worry about this thing getting jammed up and moved on my way to a hunt of a lifetime in New Zealand. Didn't move at all, didn't move during the hunt. And then I did the same thing on the way back. I did the same thing going to Total Archery Challenge this summer, and I've never had a problem with it moving when I'm traveling because of that. So that's actually really nice. Again, we've got the 5-pin horizontal, my favorite combination or configuration of pins, just because I don't have to move my sight. I can pin gap everything from between 20 and 60. I can pin gap if I need to. Beyond 60, I can dial it down. And I don't have to worry about drawing back on an animal and then it moves to a different range and I have to let down and move my sight, draw back again. I can just be confident in my 20 to 60 and know everything that's in that wheelhouse is gonna be something I can shoot without having to move my sight. So that's what I like, and that's what I'm running again this year. All right, on to something new. Like I mentioned before, this is the new 7-degree down angled stabilizer. And it's kind of genius because, like, if you look at it compared to the normal one, it's almost identical. It just has that little bit of a notch cut out right here to be able to angle it down, and it's still just as sturdy, no moving parts, no need for like a separate piece out the front. And I'll just show you real quick how it works. So I'm gonna run it down because I like that and I want to, but if you wanted to run it normally with the exact same bar, not having to buy a new one, you can just go back one notch. If you're familiar with the bridge lock bars, they have little notches in it, and then they have this screw that holds it in. So you can just go back one notch and it's a straight bar, come down one and it's angled. So you get the best of both worlds without having to buy an additional stabilizer, which is pretty smart. So again, I'm gonna run it down because I want to try that out. I've never actually shot an angled bar, but I've heard from a lot of people that they are very helpful. Just like having that mass weight lower, it just kind of helps you get your bow feeling a little bit better. That's why we've got a little bit more mass weight down here. So I'm going to angle my back bar down a little bit, and you can see, like, it's not a lot, but I think it's going to make a little bit of a difference. So that's kind of sweet, and that is sturdy, not going anywhere. On to the next new thing that they made this year, and that is the integrated V-bar mount for the back. If you remember the old one, it kind of hung out the back like this. There's nothing wrong with it, but having it integrated in just like that, it's just a little bit more streamlined. It's not hanging out the back, and it just sucks in there really nice and tight. And then you can go ahead and put your, I think I used, yeah, I did, oh well. You can put your, let me actually put this right. I used the wrong knob. Hold on, 1 second. I think they're the same, but this one says angled 7 on it. So that's for the angled bar. I think they're the exact same though. Make sure we're good to go. Locked in. Okay. As I was saying, just a little more streamlined, and a little bit, you know, I wonder, comparing it to my other one over there on the Lift X, I think this thing might be just a little bit lighter. I want to copy this because I really like the angle of that back bar. I'm also going to copy the weights on this too because I spent quite a bit of time getting this thing dialed in. And as you may notice, bloody arrow from last night, which is awesome. So this one I've got at about 4 and about 2.5. So I'll copy that with this one as well. For those that haven't shot a back bar, I hunted a lot without shooting a back bar, and I shot pretty fine, but I mean, once you do it and once you just shoot especially longer ranges, even for practice or total archery challenge or whatever, but I mean, even for hunting at 30 yards in a whitetail stand, like, I just feel so much more balanced with the use of a back bar. I just love it. I've been doing it, shooting one for probably 4 or 5 years, so I went like 10 years without even using one, and it's a game changer for me. And everybody that I've talked to and everyone that I've recommended one to, they love it too. So if you haven't ever shot one, just give it a try and see how you like it. I think you're probably gonna like it. You don't have to have a ton of weight on it. It doesn't have to be crazy long or anything, but just having a little bit of something to basically balance and create a little bit more weight on the one side or the bottom side of the bow is certainly helped me out quite a bit accuracy wise. We'll run with that for right now. This bow is obviously a little different. This integrated V-bar mount is a little bit in a different position than the other one, so I'm gonna have to just test it out a little bit to make sure it's where I need it, but I think it's gonna be extremely close to feeling good. Get this thing, make sure this doesn't go anywhere. Nice. So, coming together quite nicely. Let's put the Peep sight in. Almost forgot more stabilizer weights. So I want to match what I've got on the Lift X, which is 6 in the back, 7 in the front. Not very many people run more in the front that I've ever seen. A lot of people have more in the back, but I shoot with a resistance release. I hunt with a resistance release. That's pretty much what I use year round. And what I've found is just having a little bit more weight out front and then the action of pulling back, it creates a little bit of a push-pull type feeling, I guess you could say, to where there's more weight out front, I'm pulling from the back, so it just helps me feel a lot more comfortable, and the execution just feels so good when I have a little bit more weight out front. So gonna continue doing that. It works, so no reason to change. So I said 7 in the front, so I'll do 1, 3, and 3. Tighten that down. 3, 3, and 6. And then pop that bad boy back in. As you notice, I got the Kodiak Brown stabilizers as well. Just kind of match the bow. So I've got Kodiak Brown riser, limbs, stabilizers, then the white grip, which kind of matches like my white sight housing, white string, tan serving. So if you go on the bow builder on Mathews and you want something that's gonna be very close to the Kodiak Brown, I believe, at least from my experience with this one, tan is gonna be the closest to this riser color. It's maybe just a hair lighter, I guess, or a hair more brown compared to maybe the riser's just like a shade more of like a grayish type color, but they're super, super close. I mean, it's very close and it looks very good. So if you're looking for something, at least in the serving color that matches the riser, tan is the one that you're gonna want. Now, let's go ahead and put the Peep sight in. So again, we'll take the Stayfield system because I don't wanna use the bow press just because I wanna show how this can be done without it. So I'm gonna do this so you can, let's see here. Still got the limbs backed out. Pull the string back away from my, a little hard here, away from my string stop, and then pop this bad boy in. Right here, okay. Try again. On. I mean, it's still tight, so still gotta be super careful. Okay. Got that in. Got our blue mark here. Something I do want to mention is my Peep size. I'm doing something different this year. I've ran a 3/16 for the past couple years. That's what I've got on my Lift X down there. But after shooting that and shooting with this Mathews Genuine UV slider, I've noticed that the housing size of this just appears to be slightly bigger than the sights that I used to shoot. And it appears, at least to me in my draw length, that the 3/16 is actually a little bit too small. I can't quite see the exact center of the sight housing. And now I do not center the pin in my Peep sight. I center the housing for all distances. Some of you may be different, but that's just what I do. And this year I'm going with a 7/32 Peep, which is just 1/32 larger than what I had before, which would essentially be a 6/32 Peep with the 3/16. So I think this one will be hopefully the perfect size to match this Mathews Genuine. I'm shooting just under 29 inches. We'll see what this one measures out at, but I mean, it's a relatively common draw length. So maybe you've noticed that as well, or maybe that's something that you want to think about. It again, it's kind of person dependent and how you like to look at your sight picture, how you like to center and align everything up. But I think this will be good. I really do. I think it'll be good. I shot great with that 3/16, but I just felt like I had just a small little bit of an issue kind of getting it lined up perfectly every time. So see how this one goes. Pull my other bow back and I can just kind of gauge where I want this thing to be. I wonder, I don't think I have a tape measure. Should have more tools in my toolbox apparently, but I know my measurement from here, but I don't have my tape measure, so that's actually, okay, sweet. There to there, wrap. I can just kind of use this to make sure I'm pretty close without even having to draw it back 100 times to make sure my peep height is good. Okay, that's gonna be super close right there. There we go. Slowly let it back out. And my peep is turned in the wrong direction. I thought I had it right, but kind of, no, I do have it right. It just all twisted on me. Everything's kind of twisted on me a little bit now for some reason. Let's put it back in the boat press. JK. All right. Now I think we're doing better now. Oh yeah. Man, that peep looks so big compared to the 3/16, but I think it's gonna be perfect. If not, I can always go grab a 3/16 and pop it in there. But I'm gonna try this 7/32. It's kind of hard to find a 7/32 peep, not gonna lie. I believe I got this one from Lancaster. Actually, I could about guarantee I got it from Lancaster Archery, because they have about everything. Tie the peep in real quick, that way it doesn't go launching into the woods when I shoot for the very first time. Very first shot coming up soon with the new Mathews Arc. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. I think this bow looks awesome. Peep is tied in temporarily. Broadhead back out. All right, let's test it out. Arrow on, because I don't want to dry fire my brand new bow. Got the safety. Let's see. See where this thing's at. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I would say first off, I don't know if that could be hardly more perfect. I might just move it down like the tiniest hair, but right now this peep sight size looks absolutely perfect for this sight housing at my draw length. So that looks good. We've got the bow set up perfectly. Well, not perfectly, but it's set up how it's gonna be when I'm shooting. So next up, I'm gonna paper tune, but I wanted to make sure I put everything on before I paper tune, because it's gonna kind of change how the bow grips in my hand and how I naturally torque it a little bit. If I was gonna shoot with a quiver on, which for whitetail hunting this fall, I don't plan to do that, but if I was gonna do that, and if I use this bow out west, and I plan to do that, I would wanna put the quiver back on before paper tuning. Sometimes it changes things, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on your setup, and there's a lot of factors to it, but there's just so many things that go into accuracy of a bow. I wanna put everything in my favor if possible, so I always like to tune with everything exactly how it's gonna be, including like when I put a quiver on, I don't have all the arrows in my quiver. I have all of them but one in my quiver because I'm not gonna shoot with a full quiver on. And yeah, I might shoot multiple arrows and maybe I have fewer arrows, but I at least wanna have -1 arrow in the quiver because that's the arrow I'm gonna be shooting with when I'm shooting at an animal. Does that make a lot of a difference? I don't know. I think it does just a little bit, and it builds confidence, which is super key in bow hunting. So that's what I do. But anyway, for whitetails, I like to take my quiver off, hang it in the tree next to me, and that's how I'm gonna tune this bow. Let's get on to paper tuning. All right, we've got the handy Paper Tuner 5000 here. Cardboard box with a hole cut out of it that Josh and Rachel made. So before we paper tune this thing, got to make sure we crank her back down to where it was. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Shooting 70 pounds on this thing, by the way. I don't think I ever mentioned that. 3, 4. All the way down. Okay, good to go. Next up, shoot it. First shot with a brand new 2026 Mathews Arc. Let's do this thing. So again, gonna be shooting with lighted nock. Gonna be paper tuning with lighted nock. Gonna be tuning with a lighted nock for the most part. So something that I realized I kind of messed up on a little bit is when I was putting the initial nock sets in, I used that bow press just to make sure it was level. Well, that press is one that you can adjust, swing up or down to make it vertical, and I didn't realize it wasn't totally horizontal. So I actually tied my nock sets a smidge higher than they should be, and as you can see, they're kind of at the top side of this serving. So I'm pretty certain, I'm gonna be totally honest and say that it's probably not gonna paper tune perfectly right out of the get-go. I'm gonna need to move my rest. I can basically guarantee that. But at least I know that's gonna be the reasoning. I'll probably have to tie another one in just a little bit lower depending on how this thing tunes up. That was my fault. Should have paid more attention to that, or actually just went and bought a string square to put it on like the normal way. That way I can be a little bit more accurate and precise when I do that. But we'll get by with today, or for today, and I can always redo that later. But at least I just know from the get-go if I'm a little bit off on this paper tear, that's why. Let's do this thing. First shot with the new bow. Whoa! Well, it is not high or low, but it is big time to the right. So it's hard to tell what it's from exactly. It could be this lighted nock. So let me try another nock and make sure it's not just a nock. We'll show you this if you see that. Got a screw in there. That was that video I mentioned earlier that I made a couple years ago about how I get my nocks to be exactly the same weight as my lighted nocks. Okay, let's try it again, see if we get the same result. Yep, same thing. Well, that's good. It's a good thing. I mean, that's way off in the middle. So I left the rest in the middle, and that's where we're gonna keep it. I'm just gonna do some limb shifting. Yeah, it's pretty close. That's pretty close, so let's just slide that over a little bit. Once again, the nice thing about doing this without a bow press. Like in the past, I would have put this thing in a press, changed out spacers, put everything back together, shot again, changed out spacers over and over and over again. Try not to lose the washer. And now I don't have to. Since I had a right tear, I'm gonna move the limb to the right. So we'll go, I mean, it's quite a bit. Oh, wrong way. It's quite a bit, so I'm gonna go like, I'll just do half a turn on each side. We'll see what that does for me. Boom, half a turn. Okay, try it out. Better. Need to go some more. Maybe right there. We'll try that out. See how that looks. Just do another half. So we'll do a full total. There's notches right in this limb shift, so you can kind of see exactly where it needs to be, or exactly where you're adjusting it anyway, and you can kind of gauge how far to go from there. Oh yeah, better. Still off, but better. Actually, ooh, look at that. Look at that. 3 shots, and look how fast that cleaned up. Like, I think it was 1, 2, 3, and now it's like just a smidgen high, which is what I expected, but it's actually not bad. That is like, that is awesome. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna go just a little bit higher on this rest. Like I mentioned before, it's actually not near as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Micro adjust, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How are we looking? Man, that is extremely close. We're just a little bit high left again. We'll just go a hair more. We did 6 clicks. I'll just do another 4. I'm just gonna go a hair more on my limbs. Okay, looks the same. Yeah, we're pretty similar there. Pretty similar. Move the rest up some more. 10 more on the rest. Again, this is certainly not the bow's issue at all. It's not that bad, but I mean, I probably would have had it tuned a lot faster if I actually put my nocking point where it should be, but because I have to raise that rest up a little bit, taking a little bit longer. Well, I actually ended up just taking apart this D-loop. It wasn't so tight that I couldn't do that. I moved it down, retied lower nock sets. You can see it's a lot more centered there in the serving. Moved my rest back down, retied the D-loop in there, and we should be a lot closer. That way I don't have to retune this thing later. I didn't realize I would be able to redo that D-loop so easily, but it worked. So let's take a couple shots and see where we're at. Oh yeah, look at that. That looks awesome. We're just a smidgen low, a little bit low, nock low. So I'm gonna just take my rest down. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know if that'll be enough, but should be a good starting spot right there. We're maybe just a little bit the same, but we're a little closer. So I'm gonna step back to probably 10 feet. and then we'll shoot again. That'll just give that arrow a little bit more time to move whichever direction it's gonna move, which makes the tear a little bit more obvious typically. That way I can adjust it. But I think we're definitely in a good starting spot right here. We got lower right, so I'm gonna move my rest down a little bit more and also move my limb shift to the right. Oh, other direction. Limb shift too far. There we're nock low right, here we're nock low left. So that is like perfect. That's pretty much perfect right there. So that was at, actually didn't go 10 feet. I went 1, 2, yeah, about 10 feet. So let's do further. Let's go further. Oh baby, look at that. Guys, look at that. That is awesome. That is literally perfect. And that was probably close to 20 feet right here. I'm gonna go a couple more steps back, but I mean, that is awesome. So we've done like 3, 10, and 20. We could probably get close to 30 feet, I bet. 10 yards back there, something like that, 9 or 10 yards. So I'll do one more, maybe aim right there and see if this is good, but it's looking really good. Oh man. Oh, that is a beautiful sight. That could not be any better. That's a 10 yards with a brand spanking new Mathews Arc 30. Guys, I'm just so pumped. I love when a bow's tuned good, and that is literally as good as it is gonna get for paper tuning right here indoors. I can do it a little bit further, but I mean 10 yards is a decently long ways, and if I don't have any wind today, I might be able to pop outside and do some more, but we'll head out there soon. I'm gonna do some broadhead tuning and some sighting in to get this thing ready for hunting. I'm gonna take a shot with the light and nock to make sure that's dialed too. Yes! Oh man, look at that. Light and nock is perfect. Regular nock is perfect. Different arrows. I mean, exact same setup, but like sometimes one arrow is a little bit different depending on your nock positioning. You might need to rotate the nocks, but I mean, 2 different arrows, different nocks, same weight and everything obviously, but they're hitting absolutely perfect together out to 10 yards. And again, did all of that without the use of traditional bow press. Just the stay afield system and the limb shift and a couple rest adjustments, and it is shooting lights out. All right, let's get this thing sighted in. First shot's outside with it. A little high. Good start. Okay, getting my 40 dialed in. Just took a shot and it looks dead center. So take a couple more, make sure. That one looked a little bit high. Yeah, too high in a row. That looks pretty dead on, at least elevation wise. Looking pretty good. Got 40 pretty dialed. Getting 30 super close. Shoot a couple more here at 40. I got this thing dialed in pretty good at 40 yards since the 40-yard pin is fixed into the housing. I got that dialed, and I'm going to use Precision Cut Archery, the online tool, and make my sight tape as well as my pin gapping for my 5 pins. Get those dialed in, get a print off, get that on there, get it sighted in, and then do some broadhead tuning and some bear shaft tuning, and I will be ready to hunt after that. So just a couple more steps. Also need to tie in my peep sight a little bit. By the way, at my draw length, and I'll check it here in a second with the draw board, this 7/32 peep sight looks absolutely perfect. It's definitely a little bit bigger. I can tell easily that it's bigger than that 3/16. And for this sight housing, I mean, it looks perfect for me for centering up that sight housing. So if you have something similar setup to me, you may want to check that out as well if you have that issue or if you notice that on your bow. But let's put this quiver on. I didn't talk about that at all. It is the 5-arrow 1-piece detachable quiver. Absolutely love this thing. It's probably my favorite, actually it is my favorite quiver ever that I've ever shot, because it's so easy and simple, and can take it off with one hand. Let's see here. This goes into this side. I like that this thing has almost nothing attached to the riser for a mounting bracket. Like, it's basically no added weight, but it works so well. It's just simple and it just works, and kind of like I said before with the rest and everything, just made for the bow, made to fit perfectly. The stabilizers, the sight, it just works so seamlessly and effortlessly, and keeps the weight down, keeps a lot of the side to side weight down, and I don't know, it just works so well. Don't even have to adjust anything. It's just ready to lock and load. And there it is. Like I said, I'm not gonna usually hunt with this thing on, at least not for whitetail, but I will out west and going on some other adventures. Got that Kodiak brown to match as well. So let's pop this bad boy off and talk about the last new thing for this year, and that is the Engage Arc limb legs that go on the new Arc bows. It's a little bit taller than the last model. I think the other ones had a little bit different angle. I know these limbs are a little bit different angle. Got a little more height here, so when you have your arrow on, it's not gonna be contacting the brush as much. If you're in a ground blind or something, it's gonna be a little bit higher off the ground, a little more centered. So those are the new limb legs for the new Arc bows. Now, let's toss this thing in the draw board. About 28 7/8 on the draw. So if you have a 29-inch draw or anything close to that, and you're shooting this size of sight housing, and you center your housing, you may check out a 7/32 Peep, just a hair larger than the 3/16 that I used to use. And that is the brand new 2026 Mathews Arc 30, Kodiak brown color, new SWX 2 cams with the new SWX Z mod option for a little bit smoother draw. We've got the 7-degree downward stabilizer front bar. We've got the integrated back bar V-bar mount. We've got Arc limb legs, silent connect system built in, just a ton of new features on this bow, and it's shooting awesome already. I can't wait to finish setting it up and get out in the next couple days to hunt some more whitetails. So I'm fired up about that. We've got more videos on the new Arc 30 on our YouTube channel here, along with a bunch of hunts from this fall. So thank you guys for checking out this video, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.